guys, welcome back to my Practically Imperfect Life. Today is going to be a gardening and goals video, and yes, we are doing a little bit of garden projects inside. Today I'm going to be arranging some of the things that I grew from seed into some vases. I've been drying it for the last couple of weeks, and I want to see what I can do with it to try to bring, I don't know, some green and some freshness into the house, into different places, and maybe have some extra things to give away. And while I do that, I want to talk to you about my goals for the month of November. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that I do like to share goals videos, and I do it for a couple of reasons. One, I like to be held accountable to the things that I'm working on, and I feel like by telling you guys all of my goals, I'm doing that. I'm like, oh, I've got to work towards these now. Now, I did take October off because, well, if you watched my update video that I posted recently, you'll know October was kind of a survival month. Like, we were just making it through. There was going to be no goal achieving in the month of October. But I'm feeling much more motivated going into November, and it's going to be a good month. I'm going to make sure it is a good month. I feel like I've got a much better attitude about things now, and yeah, so I wanted to share my goals, but I also wanted to, back in September, I said I was going to try to change up how I did my goals videos. I wanted to kind of work on some of my different gardening projects while I talked to you about goals. Now, I love to grow things. If you want to see some of the videos that show my gardens, I've got those in a garden playlist. But I love to grow things, and just a huge variety. And I started a ton of different things from seed last year. I started status, which I've grown for a couple of years now. I started straw flowers, so that was the first year for me to grow those, and that was a really cool experiment. And then I grew eucalyptus, which is what you see in front of me here. And I had no idea how well it would grow, and it actually turned out to be rather prolific. I mean, it really went to town. And eucalyptus is one of those things that you see it dried in the store, and it's kind of ridiculously expensive. And I thought, well, if I can grow it and dry it, maybe I could put it in some vases and some arrangements. So I actually have like a huge pile of eucalyptus stems here. And the challenge is going to be trimming them up so they look pretty and figuring out how I can arrange them in some vases. But it was very easy to grow. I mean, it really just went to town, and every time I would cut a stem off of it to put it in an arrangement during the summer, like 2 more would grow in its place. It was like a hydra, so it was crazy. So while I'm doing that, though, I did want to share my goals. Now, I keep track of all of my goals in my bullet journal, and I have 6 categories of goals. I usually only share the 5. I have a work category, but I'll share some things on that for you as well. So I'm going to keep that handy so that way I can reference it as I'm chatting with you and I don't forget anything. But since many of you are homeschooling moms too, maybe we should just start with homeschooling. And while we're doing that, I'm going to start untangling some of these branches here, and we'll see what we can do. So homeschooling wise, we are getting into the Advent season this month. You know, that is usually where a lot of homeschool moms' minds go as we get into November is, what are we going to do for Christmas? Are we going to do something special? Are we going to do something different? Do we want to add something in? And I used to purchase different programs, you know, different add-ons and things like that. We've always purchased an extra Christmas devotional. We have done the ones from Daily Grace Co. for ages, and I will throw a picture up here for you of the one we purchased this year. So Daily Grace Co. offers a lot of different packages for their Christmas devotionals where you can get different things included. And I have ordered the full kits before, but I don't need the full kits anymore. My kids are older. You know, we don't need to do like an Advent tree. We don't need the little kid books and things like that. And quite frankly, they have an offer that comes with a coffee mug. And I have so many coffee mugs, like I don't know what to do. So this year we kept it simple, and I just ordered the actual devotionals themselves. Now, I did order both the men's devotional and the women's because my kids are doing their Bible devotions independently right now. They are both working on those. And so I wanted to have each of them have one that was kind of tailored more towards them that they could each work on. So I have a copy for each of the kids. And then I purchased an additional women's copy as well because I wanted to make sure that I had a copy to work on alongside them. We might do some like once a week, like there's reflection pages usually on day 6. So you do like days 1 through 5 usually, and then there's a reflection page. So we might kind of come together on that last day and share our reflections from the week. I think that might be a nice way to kind of tie it in more as a family study than necessarily like just a, hey, you're doing this on your own kind of study, and see what we think about doing it that way. Now, the other thing that I have liked to do is add in something that's fun but still educational, if you catch my drift. Like, I don't want to just stuff their schedule with randomness that doesn't really have any meaning. I want to make sure that what we're working on, has value to them and to their time. And so one thought that had crossed my mind a few years ago was to look into some thematic studies on different things. And there's lots of them out there. You can find caroling ones and ones on different Christmas traditions and stuff like that. But a lot of them were very much geared towards our younger kids. And as they got older, it got harder to find something that didn't seem too childish. So last year I put together an around the world study for them to do. And we looked at Christmas traditions in multiple different countries. We baked a bunch of food. We made some kind of more, age appropriate crafts and things like that. And that was a lot of fun. So this year, I went ahead and I have done the same thing again. So I've gone through and chosen new countries that we didn't look at last year. And quite frankly, I've just gotten better at creating things with different kinds of software. And so this one looks, more professional, much better. It's got a lot more to it. And I figured once I had it done for the older kids, I would look at it and say, well, could I adapt any of this down to make it appropriate for younger students? That way, if I'm sharing it with people and they want to use it with their younger children, they could. So that's what I did. So I have a Christmas study that's going to be coming out. It's going to be its own video here soon. It will be, again, a couple of countries that your kids can study, and they'll have activities that are very specifically geared towards your older students. So if you just have older students, or if your older students want to go off and kind of do something on their own, then they can. And if you want to do some things as a family, there'll be things that you can do that way. Or if you have younger students and you need to do something that's age appropriate for them. So really that's kind of our homeschool goal for the month of November, is to get into our different Advent studies and make sure that we are, sorry, this is kind of loud as I'm clipping, but this one needs a lot of, like, the ends of them curled up kind of funny. I mean, most of it looks beautiful, but the little ends, and I just can't leave it like that. That drives me nuts. Anywho's, so that's part of our homeschool goal, is to get started on our Christmas devotions, get started on our Christmas Around the World study, and then really just kind of make sure that we are going through quarter 2 at a steady pace. So Emma will have her course all wrapped up, that she's taking her college course, and that's been going really well. I'll give some more updates on that when I do a quarter 1 update, and tell you more like about what we've learned from that process and her thoughts on the class. It has been interesting, but we're getting some college credits out of the way with that. So that's homeschooling, Christmas devotion, our Christmas Around the World program, and then just kind of staying on track with things as we go into the quarter. Since I mentioned the Christmas study, that actually is one of my work goals. So to have that officially released, it's already done. I just have to release it. So I guess, it's not that hard of a goal, but you know what? I'm going to give myself an easy goal, and I'm going to call that good. But I also run like a baking business from here at home. And one thing that, if you're a baker, you know that November is when you launch your Christmas line. So a lot of us will offer special selections, certain types of cookies and cakes and things like that that are for the Christmas season. And we do a bunch of pre-orders and stuff like that for it. And so I have been going through my colors and my cookie cutters and ordering some new ones and trying to figure out exactly what is my lineup going to be. The problem is that I like so many different things that narrowing it down is hard. So that's kind of what I have to do, is I have to narrow it down to like, you know, one like color line, and then, you know, one set of designs, and just kind of say like, hey, that's what we're going to do this year. It's just hard because you want to do all the things, but those are my work goals. Then to get that Christmas line launched and out, you know, on the baking business side of things, and then to officially release the Christmas study for you all. And that will be something that will be available in my shop page, so which is always linked down below. If you need homeschooling resources, check that out. I've got a homeschool course in there. I've got a transcript workbook in there. I have a planner, digital planner in there, just lots of different things that you can kind of pick and choose from. So, home and garden then. Oh, here's a huge bundle. Look at this. Isn't this one beautiful? Oh, I mean, it's got a little bit of the curled edges on it, but honestly, like, I don't know if I care on this one. It just looks pretty. I think I'm going to leave this one as is. So what I do, by the way, to dry them is I would just cut them into bundles. I have a whole big stack of zip ties. So I zip tie them, and then I use another zip tie and I create a loop and I hang them. So I actually repurposed my plant stands I have in my little office room in there, the one where I actually start all my seeds. And what I do is I just was hanging the bundles upside down from there. But you could hang them upside down from anywhere to dry. And I did that with all of them. So that way they would hopefully all create some nice shapes as they were drying. So it worked out really well. I've got tons and tons and tons of dry flowers in there, like lots. I don't quite know if I'm going to need all of them. I might end up just giving some away, but there's a lot in there right now. Anyways, home and garden, since we're doing some gardening stuff, home and garden next. So November for me is actually Christmas decorating month, because I have a small problem with just loving to transform the whole house inside and out into basically like a Christmas village. So that is what I will largely be doing in November, is getting the house all set up. And it's one of those things that takes a couple of days. And especially with my schedule being the way it is now, like I don't have like a 3-4 day stretch where there's nothing else on my agenda that I can just dedicate to this. So instead I need to be a little more deliberate and organized with it. You know, my thought is usually, since our storage room is right here, is I pull things out into the basement and I start to sort them out. And what I want to do is start to like clump them, like set them out like on the floor by room that they're going to go to. And because I change things up every year. So if I can kind of sort them out by where they're going to go, then I can pick one room or one space and go and get that space done. Like I could say, okay, today's the kitchen, and we'll get everything that's related to the kitchen done and decorated, and then switch gears and say, okay, we're gonna do the dining room, and then the kitchen, the living room, and things like that. I will probably actually start with the tree, because I ordered a new tree for this year. Not that I don't love my old tree, but it's so large and it's almost too tall for our space. And I wanted to get one that was just a little bit narrower and flocked this time, because we're kind of changing the color scheme up in that room, and a flocked tree will just work out much better for that. So I'll decorate it and show it in a video, because I'm super excited. I think it's going to be beautiful. I ran the new theme by Emma because I wanted to get her opinion on it, and she gave it a thumbs up. So there you go. We'll have fun. We'll get that tree all decorated and done together. So we've got that to do for the home. So getting all of the Christmas up. And then on the gardening side of things, though, I actually need to get my seed orders in. So again, I start a lot of things from seed. I've got a stack of kind of like partial packets of seeds that are left over, but nothing that I have like in large quantities. And so I know I need to kind of do like a big restock order this year. Plus I need to figure out what it is I want to grow next year. And when I say that, I mean like what vegetables do I want to have in the garden? What cut flowers do I want to have? I had a lot of, I didn't have a ton of success with perennials started from seed this year. I did with hollyhocks. The hollyhocks were like, I have hollyhocks everywhere now, which is awesome. But I started delphinium and I started foxglove. And they did okay as far as like how many of the seeds turned into plants. But the plants that I put in the ground they were beautiful and they were amazing, and I want to have more of that. I also want to try my hand at starting, some perennial Rudbeckia and things like that. Just so I can start to fill more of the garden spaces with things that will come back every year, and I don't have to like constantly be growing and planting and replacing every single year. So I've got to do some seed shopping and get my inventory done and get those things ordered, because a lot of the ones that are, popular, or the ones that you really want, they will sell out rather quickly. So I know I usually ask people in my family, I'm always like, they're like, what do you want for Christmas? And I'm like, I would like gift cards to Johnny's Seeds so I could order seeds, or to our local nursery so that way I can buy plants in the spring. So I'm an easy one to shop for. My faith and personal goals, I have gotten a bit behind on my kind of steadily reading through the Bible. I had been doing so well until I got to about late August, and then I just kept slowing down, and then again, October was like one of those months where it was like, so I got like very little done. So I want to get back into steadily reading through that. I don't think I'm going to meet the goal of reading the whole Bible this year, simply because I can't really make up a month worth of missing it. But I am happy with what I've gotten to get through so far, and I will just continue, reading into the next year. The other thing that I wanted to do and try to build as a habit, this is actually something that my pastor recommended. So my pastor had talked about how he starts every one of his days, and he says he starts with like these recitations and prayers, and he has like a quiet place, like he goes in his house and he recites the Lord's Prayer, the Apostles' Creed. So he recites the Lord's Prayer and the Apostles' Creed, and he's like, it's so simple to recite those two things every day. He said, but when you do, he said, it will do something to you. It's you hear the words, right? And one of his favorite verses is that, faith comes by hearing the words of Christ. And so he's like, you're hearing those words recited over and over and over again every single day, and they are ingrained in you, and then you start to meditate and think on, what is the meaning of each line of the Lord's Prayer more deeply. You start to think on the meaning of the different parts of the Apostles' Creed more deeply. And he said it's just one of those things that will change the way that you start your day, and it will change the attitude and the approach you take to everything. So I thought that was really sage advice and something that I really wanted to try. So that is my goal. One of my big goals for November is to hold myself to starting every single day with those two things. There are plenty of little quiet places I can go in my home to sit and do those, and it's not, and he specified it wasn't just saying them in your head. He said say them out loud, recite them, and so that is what I'm going to try to do for the whole month of November. They say it takes 30 days of doing something consistently to make it a habit. So we're going to try to make that a habit. I think after the sort of, hectic, crazy, kind of stressful periods that we've had, I feel like if I had already had that as a habit, I would have felt much differently as I was going through all of the different challenges we have recently. And so I want to build this habit now, so that way if something comes up in the future, I am in a better place spiritually and mentally to handle it. So that's kind of the purpose of that goal. Relationships and family is category number 4, and we are I don't know, can I put this in this category? November, get all the Christmas shopping done. That is always a November goal. I hate Christmas shopping in December. I want to get it done in November. Now, usually I also have projects that I'm making for people as well. And so things that I'm working on putting together and the like. And hopefully I will do better on getting those things done earlier this year, because now you might notice that things look a little different behind me here. My son brought a desk from upstairs downstairs. He didn't want it in his room anymore, so he's created this little L-shaped desk area for himself. But behind me, on the other half of the homeschool room, it's no longer very homeschooly. It's now a craft area. When I mentioned that I reorganized my craft space and like did like a major overhaul, a bunch of stuff, I thought, well, you know, is this space working the way it can for me? And the answer was no. And then there's several reasons, but space was one of them, but also the fact that I'm a huge night owl. I mean, like, I'm a night shift nurse, and nights is when I'm most productive. However, my husband goes to sleep super early. Like, he just is not a night person. And so I couldn't do anything in that craft space because he was asleep at the times when I'm most productive. So moving it somewhere where I can have access to it more easily without worrying about whether or not like I'm disturbing his sleep, fantastic. So I will show you that space here soon, because I'm like really excited with how it turned out. It was a big project, for sure, but one that I think will be super helpful in the long run. And it kind of goes along with this whole idea of like, what do I do with this whole space once both of my kids are out of the house in a few years? So I'm going to probably slowly take over this whole space, and it's going to become like Mom's Den, I'm sure, with craft stuff and books and all of the things. But nothing wrong with that, right? Dads get a man cave, and Mom gets her Mom's Den, right? There you go. Anyway, so that is one of the big goals, is to get ahead on that and start making some progress on the Christmas shopping and the crafting. And then my very last category is health. And I only have one health goal, but it's one that is going to take kind of a lot of I don't know, discipline and mental energy from me. So a couple of years ago, I did like the very low carb, the keto diet. I think the keto diet is probably what most of you would know it as. So it's an extreme low carb diet where you instead get most of your calories from like healthy fats and proteins. And it shifts kind of the way that your body breaks down things and where it gets its energy from. Now, it was a really good fit for me at the time, because one of my issues for a long time was that I had like this huge sweet tooth, and it was just really hard for me to, you know, stay on track with things. So I did that, and I mean, obviously, like, there was a lot of weight loss, but I also just felt really good. Like, my energy was so much better. Like how healthy things like my hair and my nails were, my skin. I mean, I just felt good. I felt really good. And I went off of it and tried to like transition to being more like, okay, we'll stick to more high protein and things like that. But I have just not felt as good ever since I stopped. I just don't, I don't feel as energized and motivated and all of those other things. Plus, I've had all of these other kind of like little health concerns pop up, and I wonder how much of it is because I changed my diet kind of more back to a traditional one. So I am going back on that keto regimen, and of course I decided to do it right before Christmas when there's all kinds of like, right, temptations and things like that. So it is going to be a bit of a struggle. So I have been going through pulling back up like my old recipes, and I had like some lists before that helped me with like grocery shopping and allowed me to like pull together meal plans and things like that. So it will be a bit of a challenge for sure. And the last time I did this, I went through kind of what you call like the keto flu. It was like 2 weeks of feeling terrible because your body's craving carbohydrates, but you're not giving it any. And once the adjustment is done, then you're fine. So I know I'm going to have to kind of like live through that keto flu again, but I know I will feel much better in the long run. And I do also think it will be a bit easier this time around because so many of us in this household do our own meal prepping. Like my kids, my son, you know, he has specific fitness goals, and so he plans and preps meals for himself. Usually like his lunches and then a couple dinners a week. He plans and prepares those and sets them out. And my daughter does the same thing. Everyone, it's kind of nice when everyone's really health conscious, when they want to kind of figure out what's going to be the thing that's going to meet their nutritional and physical goals, right? And then that's one of the things my daughter wants to study, right, is nutrition and exercise science in college. So it's with everybody kind of planning and prepping their own meals anyways, it's much easier for me to prepare something that's obviously very different from what everyone else in the family is eating. And that was one of the big challenges the first time around, was that, you know, I was still making like every lunch and every dinner for everybody, and then I'd have to make something different for myself. Whereas now most of us prep our own lunches for the whole week, and then because of schedules with sports and work and things like that, we typically will have a couple of meals, you know, together throughout the week, but then we'll have kind of things like pre-prepared that whenever you get home, you can get it out and you can make it. So I think it'll work out better this time around. So, all right, so those are all of my goals for the month of November. So a little bit of everything. And like I said, I'm feeling really good about this month. I think it'll be great. I am gonna have to keep working with my eucalyptus, but you know, I'm gonna just kind of keep arranging in these different vases and try to get it into the shapes I want. But it does smell amazing. When I first cut it and put it into that room, I joked that it kind of smelled like cough syrup in there, or like that Vicks Vapor Rub, because it was like such a strong eucalyptus smell. It's much milder now, but it still does have the scent. But it'll just be nice to have some green in some places. And then as far as what I'm going to do with my other dried flowers, well, you'll probably see them in a couple of projects that I'll have hanging around the house. I've already done a couple of arrangements with the status. And then with the straw flowers, I was actually going to cut a lot of the blooms off and use them as some decorative items on some other things. But it's just kind of fun to have something that looks, I mean, it's obviously dried, but still the color is beautiful on a lot of these things. And it just adds, I don't know, a little bit of the outdoors inside, which I think during the long winter months, you just kind of need something green around. So it makes me happy. Anyways, drop a comment down below. Let me know, what are your goals for the month of November? What kind of things are you working on? And let me just also say a huge thank you to all of you guys who commented on that last video. Obviously, I'm filming after that one, but it was very touching to read so many of your comments. And there's a lot of you that I want to respond back to, because a lot of you shared situations you were going through, and just know that those all touched my heart as well. And I'm praying for you, and I thank you all so much for all of the prayers that you have sent our way as well. Have a wonderful week, everybody. I will see you in the next video. Watch for that Christmas study to be coming out here in just a couple of days. I can't wait to share that one with you as well. I will see you in the next video, and until then, happy homeschooling.